The war between Russia and Ukraine has entered yet another violent phase with Moscow's deployment of Iskander ballistic missiles against a Ukrainian military training center. The strike, described as one of the most significant recent escalations, highlights the devastating power of Russia's arsenal and its willingness to directly target Ukraine's defense infrastructure. The Iskander missile system, infamous for its precision and destructive capacity, turned a training facility into a scene of chaos and devastation within seconds. Eyewitnesses reported seeing flashes of fire streaking across the sky before the site erupted in an earth-shaking explosion. Within moments, plumes of smoke rose high above the area, and the once active training grounds were reduced to smoldering ruins. Ukrainian authorities confirmed that several armed personnel were injured, though the exact toll remains unclear due to the scale of destruction. Rescue teams rushed to the scene, combing through debris and attempting to contain fires that threatened to spread further. The use of the Iskander missile is particularly notable, too. With a range of up to 500 kilometers and the capability to carry both conventional and nuclear warheads, this short-range ballistic missile represents one of Russia's most powerful battlefield weapons. By employing it against a Ukrainian training site, Russia not only inflicted immediate damage, but also sent a clear message. It is willing to escalate the conflict with advanced, high-impact weaponry. Analysts suggest the strike was intended to disrupt Ukraine's preparation of new troops and to weaken the backbone of Kiev's counteroffensive. The choice of target reflects strategic thinking. Military training centers are crucial hubs where fresh recruits are prepared for frontline duty and where specialized units undergo drills. Destroying such a facility hampers the flow of trained personnel into active combat zones, potentially slowing down Ukraine's momentum in contested areas. Beyond the physical destruction, the psychological impact is immense. Soldiers preparing to defend their homeland are confronted with the terrifying reminder that even safe zones are within the reach of Russian missiles. This escalation also highlights Moscow's ongoing strategy of targeting not just active battlefronts, but also critical infrastructure and defense support systems. By striking deeper into Ukrainian territory, Russia seeks to force Kiev onto the defensive, stretching its resources thin and testing its resilience. The message to Ukraine's leadership is stark. Nowhere is safe, and preparation itself can be undone in an instant. However, such an aggressive move carries risks for Russia as well. Each high-profile strike increases international scrutiny and strengthens calls for additional Western support to Ukraine. Already, discussions are intensifying about supplying Kiev with longer-range weapons capable of countering such strikes and even hitting back at targets inside Russia. In this sense, the Iskander attack could prove to be a double-edged sword, hardening Ukraine's resolve and accelerating global military aid. In conclusion, the Iskander missile strike on Ukraine's training center was more than a tactical blow. It was a symbolic one. It showcased Russia's ability to unleash devastating force at will, disrupted Ukraine's training pipeline, and reinforced the sense of vulnerability across the country. Yet it also raised the stakes internationally, making it clear that each such strike only fuels calls for stronger resistance and broader support. This attack, therefore, may be remembered not just for the destruction it caused, but for the chain reaction it set into motion on the battlefield and beyond. In the wake of Russia's devastating Iskander missile strike on a Ukrainian military training center, Kiev responded swiftly and decisively. Determined to prove that its will to fight remains unshaken, Ukraine launched a counterstrike targeting Russian energy infrastructure and drone production facilities. This retaliation not only underscored Ukraine's resilience, but also marked an escalation in the ongoing war of attrition, where each side seeks to cripple the other's ability to sustain combat operations. According to Ukrainian officials, multiple strikes were carried out on facilities deep within Russian territory, including oil depots, fuel storage sites, and drone manufacturing hubs. These targets were not chosen at random. They are essential lifelines for Russia's military machine. Oil and fuel depots feed tanks, trucks, and aircraft, while drone factories have been central to Moscow's relentless aerial assaults on Ukrainian cities. By hitting these sites, Ukraine aims to weaken Russia's offensive capabilities and disrupt its ability to wage prolonged warfare. Footage from the aftermath of the strikes showed raging fires at oil facilities, thick black smoke blanketing the skies, and emergency crews scrambling to contain the infernos. Drone factories, which have been vital for Russia's supply of cheap but deadly unmanned aerial vehicles, were also reported damaged. Such strikes not only deal material losses but also force Russia to divert resources toward rebuilding and fortifying infrastructure. Ukraine's choice of target sends a strong message. The war will not remain confined to Ukrainian soil. For months, Russia has relied heavily on drone swarms and missile barrages to terrorize Ukrainian cities and infrastructure. Now, Ukraine is signaling that those same weapon systems and the facilities that produce or fuel them are fair game. This shift transforms the conflict from a defensive struggle into a more offensive campaign, one that seeks to degrade Russia's ability to sustain its attacks. Internationally, Ukraine's counterstrikes have drawn mixed reactions. Supporters argue that Kiev has every right to retaliate and defend itself against constant bombardment. They point out that striking energy and drone facilities is both militarily strategic and morally justified, as these sites directly enable Russia's war effort. Critics, however, caution that such deep strikes could provoke harsher retaliation from Moscow and risk escalating the conflict beyond current boundaries. Still, for many in Ukraine, the counterstrikes represent a necessary show of strength, a declaration that aggression will not go unanswered. The counterattacks also serve a psychological purpose. For Ukrainian citizens weary of repeated Russian assaults, news of successful strikes on Russian soil boosts morale and reinforces the belief that victory is still possible. On the battlefield, the message is equally clear. Ukraine retains the capability to hit back even as it endures losses. For Russia, the strikes are a reminder that its vast geography and powerful arsenal do not guarantee immunity from retaliation. In broader terms, these counterstrikes may accelerate ongoing international debates about supplying Ukraine with more long-range weapons. As Kiev demonstrates its ability to hit high-value targets, Western allies may feel increased pressure to provide advanced systems capable of sustaining this momentum. If such support materializes, Ukraine's counterstrike strategy could evolve from occasional raids into a consistent campaign of disruption inside Russian territory. In summary, Ukraine's retaliatory strikes on Russian energy and drone facilities were not just an act of vengeance. They were a calculated strategic move. By crippling the infrastructure that fuels and arms Moscow's war machine, Kiev seeks to turn the tide of battle and send a clear message. Russia's attacks will not go unanswered, and Ukraine will carry the fight wherever necessary.